Hey, it's Matt Plapp, and I'm back with episode 7. Had to count them, make sure I had them all. And we are with Nik Robbins. This is I Know Matt Plapp. And in case you're not familiar with the concept, the I Know Matt Plapp didn't come from me having a huge ego, which my wife would tell you I do. But it came from a couple mastermind groups I'm in, that people that followed me that said, Matt, one of the reasons I enjoy seeing some of your content is not necessarily you, but it's the people you know. And it's the connections you can make with business owners and advice. And Nik, the guy I've got today, Nik, say hi. How you doing out there? We're in Arizona?
Yeah, actually, I'm in Palm Springs right now, man. About to golf 18 holes here after we get done here. So I'm excited, man. Happy to be here with you.
Cool. Well, Nik is like myself. He's a digital marketer in a different vertical, different niche. But Nik has got a unique perspective that he's been in the game. He's not brand new. And I wanted to talk to him because I follow him. I see what he's done. He's grown his business. He does a lot of business for businesses. And that's one element that a lot of marketers that I've seen my entire career, 20 years in the marketing business, very few marketing companies can point to results that their marketing gets their clients. They can say, yeah, we ran TV and then radio and billboards, and hey, you got this many impressions, this many GRPs. Nik sells a product that businesses buy that say, hey, this many people walked in, this many people spent this much money, and we got a return on investment. And the key I want to talk about today is investment, is that Nik agrees with me, and I'll let him go on this, is that looking at the investment side of marketing, because a lot of people look at it, most people, as an expense, whereas it's not an expense. You're investing in growing your business, your database, your customer base. So Nik, let's talk about that. I guess tell us a little about yourself, and let's talk about investment.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So Nik Robbins, I am a co-founder of B-Talk Local, and we are a digital marketing agency that works with a very specific group of medical providers, and we're all across the country. We've got about, depending on the month, anywhere from 75 to 90 clients. We spend over $1 million a year on Facebook, so I kind of know a little bit about investing on Facebook, doing that type of stuff. Yep. And yeah, this is one of my favorite topics because I have so many conversations and about hundreds over the last couple of years with business owners, and it blows my mind the amount of them. And again, they're always the small businesses who aren't growing rapidly who feel like this. How many of them look at a $3,000 advertising campaign as an expense? I'm like, at what point during your life did we think that, advertising isn't an investment? That's how you grow. It's how you get bigger. It's how you bring in new customers. And it just blows my mind the amount of people who rely on referral marketing or word of mouth, that type of stuff, because those are never blowing up. Those are never going crazy. And if you want to grow your business fast and you want to be able to do it consistently, and you want to be able to have a consistent stream of new customers coming in, you have to have marketing. And there's obviously several different ways we can do it that we can jump into, but it just blows my mind, man. How many people look at this as an expense?
Yeah, I don't know where it stems from. I think it stems from the fact that most businesses are started by people that aren't necessarily aren't entrepreneurs. They were a chef and made an amazing product and decided the grass was greener somewhere else, so they're going to start their own restaurant. Or I'm at a gym. One of the businesses I own is a fitness facility. We have a CrossFit division. And there's a lot of most CrossFit gyms were started by people who were trainers at other CrossFit gyms because they thought, oh, you know what? I know this stuff. This guy's making too much money. He's not paying me enough. I'm going to go start it. Well, they find out really quick it's really hard to own a business. And two, they've got in their head that on a balance sheet, expense. What do we spend? And I've run into that a lot, and investment's always been a big thing for me. I was talking to a guy we know the other day, Billy Jean, and he was talking about advertising. And he said that, people look at it wrong because if you spend advertising budgets don't exist. Because if you spend 10 grand this month and that 10 grand generates 100,000, are you going to stick with 10 grand again next month because that's your budget? Or are you going to spend 20 grand and see if that 20 gets 200, and then 40 and see if it gets 400? And I think that's a problem a lot of businesses have. What do you see from a standpoint of maybe the people that you work with that look at it correctly? What are some traits you see in them?
Absolutely. I want to take a step back because I think you nailed it. It all comes down to the people who are good at a certain skill, whether they're a chiropractor and they're good at chiropractic. So I'm going to open my own practice, right? And that really is where the stem lies because they never really got some of that business background training that comes along with you have to market in order to grow. So I think that you nailed it right there, and which is great news for so many small business owners as well, because guess what, guys? The competition really isn't that tough. If you're a dentist or if you're a chiropractor, you're orthodontist, you might feel like there's one on every block. It's hard, but I promise you, 9 out of 10 of those guys aren't doing it right. So if you start following, and learning how to market, learning how to grow your business, and learning that side of things, you're going to blow past the competition. I've seen it. We've helped people do it. So as far as traits that separate, some of our guys that, look at it as an expense versus the ones who grow, it really comes down to one's a business owner and one's a chiropractor. We work in a very specific medical niche, so I'm just going to use chiropractors as an example here so I don't confuse people. But one's actually looking at it as a business owner, one's looking as a chiropractor. One's looking at it, okay, how can I hire? How can I grow? How can I have more people on payroll? How can I invest more money in order to make more? And then the other one sees it like you mentioned. They just see it as line items, expense here. I can't make this hire here because it's going to cost me money. When in reality, hiring hiring and marketing are the two most important things you can do so that you can have more time so you can grow your business, so you can open up new locations, so you can spend more time with your family. So the biggest thing by far is the people who treat it like a business versus treat it as, a service center.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I'll put a spreadsheet on the screen here. I'll show you this to you. This is something I came up with the help of a client, because I have a lot of clients in the restaurant business. And the one thing that cracks me up is in the past 60 days, I've picked up a handful of restaurants, 2 of them that have been around for a while. And guess how big their email database was?
0.
Goose egg. The most basic element, no email database, and especially no Facebook Messenger following. They had a Facebook like page, and they have their likes. They got 10,000 likes. I'm like, you have 10,000 likes, but you have 0 email addresses. So if Facebook closes tomorrow, you can't talk to anybody. And so I was talking to this client, and I said, I'm going to pull my screen up and share my screen and show you this, because this really helped me talk to them about it. But I think it's important as understanding. Let me know if you can see this when it pops up. Can you see the spreadsheet?
Yep, it is sharing screen. Yep, we're good. Yep.
So what I did with this, and I've done this with other clients, is that, okay, this is really the whole goal of the whole thing is month 1. Is that month 1, you spend with our company, in this case, this was a smaller acquisition, $1,000 to acquire 500 people. The small fast food funnel we've got. You spend $1,000. And so a lot of restaurants traditionally have looked at this, go, okay, I spend $1,000. I need to make $4,000 in month 1. And I'm like, no, you don't. You can make $500 in month 1, because guess what? Month 2 to month 1 million, you've got no acquisition costs. They're your customers. And so like in this case, I was showing them this. And I said, I want you to envision this 12 months down the road. Don't envision it right now. I was talking to a restaurant owner yesterday in Denver, Colorado. And he's 2 weeks into the program, and it's killing it. And we were talking. He said, man, we're running on fumes in the winter. They're in Denver. It gets cold. And he's like, people aren't walking through downtown Denver to find restaurants. He said, so my goal is to have this help us build up so that next December we don't have fumes, that we've got people, we can throw gas on the fire. And I said, well, here's how we're going to do that, because you're going to be in this program for the next 12 months. And you're going to build, on average, 500 new contacts a month. Those 500 new contacts, in 12 months, you're going to have 6,000 people that next year, every week, you can invite in for your weekly special, your daily special. Tell them you got hot chili when it's freezing outside. I'm like, dude, 6,000 people, if you get 50 of them in a week that you didn't have last week, 200 a pop, or 200 people a month, they spend $20. You just grew your revenue without doing a thing except sending an email. And this same client this morning, we sent out a Facebook message. In 2 weeks, we've grown his list by 800 emails and 878 Facebook Messenger opt-ins. And so this morning, he has a dog, a gourmet dog that he came out with called They Slayed the Reindeer. And it's a reindeer hot dog. And so we sent a message through Facebook this morning with a picture and some information on it. And they got hundreds of people loving it. They're going to come in next week and get it. And I'm like, dude, that didn't cost you anything. It was free. And that's where a lot of people fail, is they look at the investment. So for example, like our this is the spreadsheet for the restaurants that are like a casual restaurant. They spend about $2,000 a month in our program. Yeah, they spend $2,000, but if you acquire, you got to get people in the first month, but the juice is right here. Getting 10% of those people back every month. That's the investment. You're investing in your list. So, yeah, that's something I want to do. Let me stop the share here. That's something I want to talk about because I think a lot of people fail to realize that you're investing in assets to grow your business in 6 months, in a year, or 2 years.
And we must be able to track the amount of people who don't track their marketing. I mean, of course you're going to think you got ripped off if you have no idea if you ever made money or not, if you marketed in the past, because I feel like that is a fear for some people. They might have one bad experience, or they might have done especially with newspaper and TV, man. I know you come from that world. It's very possible to spend $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 and get 0 phone calls. It happens. So I love that you brought up the trackability with it, because so many business owners who are even marketing that we even work with don't track anything. Their front desks aren't following up with the leads. They aren't calling them. And when you start to put things like that right in front of them, the eyes start to bulge out. It's like, oh my gosh. So I really think it comes down to a matter of just simply not knowing about some of this stuff. Let me give you an example here. We recently, about 6 months ago, we put up an auto-updating Google spreadsheet for the medical providers, where as soon as a phone call would come in or a form, it would show up on the sheet. So the front desk's only job is to keep that, or the marketing manager is to keep that sheet up and call it as soon as they see a lead come in, and keep track of whether it's scheduled and whether it closed. Because we found out that people had no idea what their numbers were. Still, even though we can send them every lead, they can get everything, it's all transparent, they had no idea. We implemented that, and we've seen at least a 30 to 40% increase in new revenue every single month from all the clients who follow our sheet. And it's gotten to a point now where we require new clients to follow the sheet and to follow our system, or else we won't even work with them, because that's how important it is to us. We saw an 40% increase in revenue and at least a 20 to 30% increase in schedule rate alone, just by keeping them accountable, by putting numbers in front of their face and making sure they're tracking. So I love that you brought that sheet up, because it tends to really open people's eyes. I mean, we were talking with some of our clients, and they were still writing down notes on pieces of paper to follow up with the leads. How is that ever going to be closed? How are you going to ever follow up with that email? I know this is a bit of a side tangent with the building email thing, because that's round 2. Because like you said, we send out email blasts once every couple months to all the past clients who didn't come in. Guess what happens? They start getting a free $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 worth of free revenue just because they've been building that list for the last 3 or 4 months. But the only way you can have that is if you track it, and you know who's showing up and you know who doesn't. And the people who track, they get results. It's really that simple.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, because I heard a saying a while back, and I've always talked about this, but I think people look at their advertising monitoring wrong. They monitor their advertising to see if it didn't work. And my comment to a client recently was, we had a restaurant last summer that we worked with 3 locations. In 4 months, the program drove $103,000 in revenue on a $16,000 spend. And that was just the month 1 results of each month as it went on. And it added 9,400 contacts. So my comment to this restaurant owner was, I want you to think about this. You spent $16,000. Next summer comes along, and you look and you go, man, we spent $16,000 last summer with Matt. If we weren't measuring it, you might look at that as a big expense and go, we're not going to do it. But the fact that we were measuring it, and we know it got $100,000 in sales and 9,400 contacts, you're not cutting that out. So I was telling him, what? That radio campaign you did might have worked, but because you didn't have the metrics in place to monitor it, how much would that suck if you spent $10,000 on a radio campaign and it actually drove $100,000 in sales, but because you didn't do your job and monitor the results, you didn't realize it didn't work. And so when it came time to renew it, you canceled it. And then you wonder why sales were down, because you just gave away $100,000 in sales. The same with your program. I've got a chiropractor I've talked to you about before that's a client of mine that we work with. He's been a client for about 7 years. And we had an issue a while back where they weren't properly monitoring the leads at the front desk. Same exact situation. And I was like, what we do now, we have it set up where he gets a text when a lead comes in, because he's really on top of his game. And so he gets a text, it gets copied to the receptionist, and he walks up there he's in the office, walks by, hey, did you call Mike? Yeah, I called Mike. Good. When's he coming in? What's the deal? They close. Same thing. And it changed because they went from 1 out of 10 people to 8 out of 10 coming in just from following up.
It's amazing how that can work, man. Once you let the owner know, or once the front desk knows the owner is going to be watching and they're responsible, because we send emails, we send phone calls, we send reports, we have our auto-updating spreadsheet, and we go in and actually do quality call control phone checks. Because what we found is 95% of failed campaigns, especially in marketing, especially in Facebook world, where, you know, if you're good, you're good. You're going to get results, or it's just not going to work, and you'll know quickly. 95% of failed campaigns come from lead handling and come from them getting in the door. And the follow-up process is something that is just unbelievable to me, that people will wait 2 days to call a lead that's online, or they'll be rude. You know, like we legitimately have to train them. We call them the director of first impressions, the front desk. And we train them that this is the most important phone call that this new prospect is going to receive. Because we're talking about medical procedures, and it should really be across the board for any new business. If they don't know you, they don't trust you, you need to be on your best behavior. You should always be on your best behavior, but let's face it, a lot of customer service is very poor out there, which is why the companies that do it well tend to crush, because people will go places for good experience. But the follow-up process, how quickly you get in touch with them, and then letting people know that they're going to be held accountable, is an absolute game changer for running successful campaigns. So I love that you brought that up, because it's been what we found is the biggest problem. You know, they're just not following up. And when we do secret shoppers, where we'll call and act like we're clients, and we'll let the doctors know. And then we've got our call tracking. So, I mean, accountability is a big, big thing here. And it brings back to, you know, the metrics. The fact that so many people weren't tracking the metrics just automatically, because that's what business owners should do, is track the metrics, was mind-blowing. So we've actually made it super easy. Now we just track it for you and we send it to you. As long as all you have to do is let us know whether they showed up or not, you know? And so we take care of everything else. But yeah, the amount of people not tracking is mind-blowing. Then they'll wonder why some things work and some don't.
In my third episode of this show, I think it was third or fourth, I interviewed a guy named Herb Bauer, and Herb is a local guy, sells advertising for print magazines, a lot of restaurants. And Herb and I have known each other for a handful of years. And the one thing he told me a while back that blew me away was, when our clients use these coupon magazines, we track it really deep. I mean, I know every month the offer, number that redeemed, the spend, what we spent. It's pretty elementary as far as tracking, especially these restaurants have good point of sales. It's not hard to pull a spreadsheet up and say, how many people brought this in? How much did we spend to get them? How much they spend? What's our profit like on this program? And so he talked about, he used to always tell me, Matt, because we would sit down and I'd say, hey, we're going to switch to this offer because we did an A/B test. Last month we did this appetizer with entree. This month we did appetizer with no entree. We saw these metrics, this many redeemed, this much in sales. This is the average cost per, and we had all the numbers figured out. He's like, Matt, you won't believe this, but I work with about 50 restaurants. You're the only one that has a spreadsheet like this. That every month a lot of them are guessing. But I'm gonna give you something. I don't know if you're doing this or not, but this is pretty cool. It's the guy. You know Rob Bailey from the program, from Billy's program?
Yeah, I've definitely had some conversations with Rob.
Okay, so Rob focuses on gyms. He's got a company called Fit Club Accelerator, I think is what it's called. We signed up our gym with his program last 2 weeks ago. And what's kind of funny is that people see me as a digital marketing guy, like, well, aren't you doing your own marketing? I'm like, well, we are, but Rob had a program that I think would work. Well, I'll tell you what's cool about it. So we signed up with this program. One of their big elements is a texting platform they use that they have pre-built campaigns in it. There's 8 campaigns for reactivation, for new lead acquisition, for referrals, but what's cool about it, and this really blew my mind, was we had a database of about 1,300 people that had either been prior members or inquired the past 4 years. And he's like, here's what I want you to do. You're going to go in the reactivation module. You're going to upload them, and all the messages are already pre-done. It's out. Okay, they get message 1. It was amazing. We had 75 people within 3 days inquire back that, yes, they want to come in and do a meet with us and get a 10-day pass to the facility to see what we're all about. And then what's even wilder for me was because the element of this that really got me was that there was things built in there. Hey, great, we got you scheduled, because it knows, it's intuitive. When they opt in, goes to a Google Sheet, sends them a text, gives them a link to our scheduling program. If they don't schedule, we know. They get a text in 2 days. And then there also is in there, hey, by the way, when you claim your 10-day pass, you know you can refer 2 friends and they'll get a pass. Reply back friend. They reply back friend. That keyword activates another text. Great. what are your friends' names and emails? That replies back. It sends that. And it's wild because seeing that work and knowing that the majority of people, 90% of the people that got these messages thought they were one-off texts. They thought it was a text message that came from my partner, Casey, because it said, hey, this is Casey from the tracks. They didn't realize that it was automated, went to 1,000 people. And the conversations it created, there was probably 40 conversations within 2 or 3 hours that were going back and forth, talking to past members or past leads. And it's going to generate some significant revenue. But the cool part about it was the automation aspect of it, the reminder aspect, and things of that nature.
Yeah, absolutely, man. The reminder aspect is going to be so big moving forward. And I love that, hearing about that. A couple things that you brought up there that I want to touch on. First off is the idea that you brought in Rob Bailey, who, as I know, we know he's really well respected in the fitness marketing arena. One thing I think that business owners should really know and understand is that just because you're good at marketing in one niche or industry doesn't mean you have it all figured out in the others. And the best companies out there build programs based around the verticals that they're in. Now, they can have more than one vertical. You can focus on more than one niche as an agency, but they build them specifically around that. They don't pretend to be all things to all people. So if you're talking to an agency or someone who says, oh yeah, I can do any industry under the sun, I can do this, it's like, you don't understand. Come on now. I'll give you an example like you did with that gym. We actually hired, we spend over $1 million a year on Facebook. So we spend a lot. We know our Facebook stuff. But we actually hired an outside contractor to help us with inbound webinar stuff for ourselves, who isn't part of the agency, because that wasn't what we were the best at. We were good at a specific part of it, you know? And so I think that that's really important to understand, is that the best agencies, the best marketing companies out there are super good at a couple of different verticals, and they've got things built around it. You know, Rob didn't put that together in, you said 2 weeks. He didn't put together something that you knew was going to work amazingly in a week and a half because he just met you. No, it's because he's done it all across the country, and he works with, I don't even know anymore, hundreds of business owners, whatever it may be, and it works. So I wanted to touch on that because there's no shame in that. Yes, I know digital marketing, but that wasn't my specialty. So find people who are good at the industry and the niche that you're working in. And then second thing is this idea of automation and reaching out. Text messaging, bots are the future. Emails are amazing. We want emails. We want to collect them. But I'm moving heavily towards push notifications. So not just Facebook Messenger bots. I don't know how much you've talked about that on this show, but we can talk briefly about what that is. And then also moving towards YouTube next year as well, because I want to be when they pop up. Right now, I've got Instagram messages and I've got text messages, and I'll have Facebook messages. What I won't have is emails. You know, so emails are still great. I don't want to take away from the value you talked about before. They absolutely do work. They crush. But the key, I guess what I'm getting at, is to be everywhere, to have all their information so you can hit them amongst the different channels. That's what I'm going for. I still collect emails. I pay for them. They work all day long. But I love that you brought up the texting thing, because those automations are going to be so important and so big, and they're a time saver for you and your business partner.
Yeah, I mean, that program that went out, we've sent this week alone, between the 1,000 or so, and plus our members, about 300 there. So we've sent probably 5,000 different text messages this week with a push of about 3 buttons. And what happens is, sometimes they reply back. Some of it's not completely automated, that somebody replies back and you can see in your inbox, and they schedule a consultation. You go in, take the tag off of them, they're into a different funnel. But it's amazing. And I think a lot of businesses, are scared to adapt and go new places. I mean, we sent out a message this morning to Biker Jim's Gourmet Hot Dogs in Denver. His 878 Facebook Messenger subscribers got a message about the reindeer dog. That probably got it right here somewhere. Let's see if there it is. So they got a message that went out and talked about the reindeer dog and how it's available limited time only. If that goes in an email, which it will, it'll work good, but it'll get opened at 20 to 30%. And Messenger is getting opened at 90 to 100%. And it's getting about 30 to 40% reply. That's something, too, I want to mention that I don't know if you've seen. I don't know if you see it a lot in your business. You might not, but in my dealing with retail, we got a lot of retail owners that are watching this video blog. In email, we send out hundreds of thousands of emails a month for restaurants, for retail companies. Rarely do we get replies back saying thank you or love your place or you guys rock, I'll be in. Hardly ever. Facebook Messenger, every third message we send, the person replies back starting a conversation. Hey, you guys rock. Hey, I haven't been there in a while. Hey, I love this idea. Hey, thank you. Texting, same way. consumers don't realize it's automated. They think it's a one-to-one because most of their 99% of their texts they're getting are. So when they get a personalized text message that references them and something unique, they reply back. And we've gotten hundreds of replies this week from people, and it started conversations. And that's what businesses are lacking is conversations.
Absolutely. We have seen the exact same thing with the bots. It's amazing how many people interact with it. And sometimes for guys, like me and you, Matt, when I get into bots, I just want to see what the automation looks like, right? I know that it's someone behind the screen pushing it. So I can't, it's hard for me to put myself in the, customer shoes where they don't get it. Their feed isn't filled. Like 5 out of 10 of my messages are bots because I follow what they do because I know bots is huge and we're moving towards a push there. But if you go ask some people on the street if they know what a Facebook Messenger bot is, 9 of them aren't going to have any clue what you're talking about. Maybe you 9.5 out of 10. So right now people are opening those messages, they are responding to those messages, and it works. They are engaging in its interactivity, and it's very important. Down the line, I think it's going to be huge. But, like I said, it's got the slight downfall where, that's on Facebook. That's why emails are still amazing and still incredible, and you can still make money off it. The key is to be multi-channel, in my opinion. Like, I'm going to repeat that again because I think that's going to be really important moving forward, is to be on several different platforms, be where your customer are. And where they're not going to be very much moving forward is radio and TV and that spot. I'm not going to say that you can't have a TV campaign that don't work. I've seen it, it can. But they are on Instagram, they're on YouTube, they are on Facebook, they're on Twitter, Snapchat, email, everywhere. And if you can be everywhere omnipresent, it just makes you seem that much more powerful. And like you said, you can start a one-on-one conversation with them. I think the way that people buy is changing right now. It is going from the big corporation branding era where you could just pay a ton of money and have stuff shoved down your throat, where now people have choices. They can choose who they want to interact with, who they want to buy. So those people that develop those relationships really build that back and forth and build a good, just a good perceived value are going to be the ones that dominate. And that's going to take a different strategy in 2018 than it did in 2017. So you got to adapt and stay up on all this stuff, man. It's going to be fun though.
Yeah, the part that you hit on there that really I think is people have no clue about, look at TV. And I challenge any business owner that's watching this, any business owner that's buying TV advertising. 2 things. I want you to be in a room with your family watching network TV or cable, and when the commercial comes on, there's one thing that's in their hand, this right here. And what's funny about it was there was a research project a couple years ago that came out when March Madness was running. 44% increase in social media platforms when commercials came on during March Madness games. So that was huge. Well, then there was another report that came out a year later that said, oh my gosh, this is great. People have stopped fast forwarding through DVR commercials. And so the advertisers are like, oh my gosh, it's awesome. They're watching our commercial. Well, no, they're forgetting to fast forward because they're on their phone. And so I tell businesses that, you know what, look around your house. I've got a daughter and a son and a wife. When commercials come on, iPads and phones are out. Go to a sports bar during a huge sporting event. When the Patriots and Steelers were playing the other night, I was watching at a sports bar with some friends or with my wife and kids, and there were people around us watching that game. We were just there for dinner. When I was watching, I watch weird things. My wife gives me a hard time. When that commercial came on, their eyes went down to the table, not to the person next to them, and it was on their phone. And so that's a big element. That's one thing. Another thing, I'll finish with this and get your closing points, is that we've had a lot of success running TV commercials on Facebook. And I tell clients this, like, you know why? Is that you don't get charged if your commercial's not watched. Like, for example, our commercials we're running like on YouTube and Facebook. If they don't get watched past a certain point, you aren't getting charged. And so if I know, like, I've got a client of mine that's in senior care, and we have 10 to 14 minute videos that he does. They're long, but they're really, really, really targeted on people with certain aspects of medical conditions. He had 800 people last month watch his one video longer than 10 minutes. And I'm like, dude, that's intent. That right there is somebody that especially on their phone, like most of them on their phone, they can't look anywhere else. When a video is playing on this, you can't change the channel. Yeah. So that's a key element. So I guess wrapping it up, we talked about investment. We talked about, how to track marketing. What would be a couple closing points that you say to a business owner, hey, 2018's here. Make a resolution to do this year.
Yes, absolutely. So the biggest thing would be to stop looking at advertising as an expense. Learn your numbers, know your numbers. Spend some time on that. I don't know if I'm shaking my thing. I'm so excited. I'm shaking my computer. Know your numbers, learn your numbers. It is your job. It should be the number one thing that you do is in order to grow your business. Know all of your numbers. Know what you're spending. Stop being afraid of investing in new marketing. And you hit it at the very end, man. Video is the future. I'm going all in on video. I've invested in a studio. You have to learn how to run video online. It is so much cheaper than TV. It is being watched. People can choose to watch it. They're not forced to watch it, which is really the biggest difference here. Like you said, those 800 people, unbelievable prospects, unbelievable people to put another message in front of. The way advertising is moving to is hit them with videos just to have them watch it and then retarget them with offers. That's going to be one of the biggest keys moving forward in 2018. So get up on your video game. If you're afraid to be behind a camera, stop it. Nothing needs to be perfect on as far as videos go. In fact, there are studies out there showing that lower quality is actually leading to massive connectivity because people want to buy from other humans. That's how you can build trust and engagement. So invest if you want to grow. If you want to make more money, you must invest. You must go out and acquire new customers, and you must learn about what those numbers mean. Number two, adapt. Things are changing rapidly. Start shooting videos. Start looking at cross-channel promotion. Start learning. Every business owner on the planet should know what a messenger bot is. Every single one, and they should know how they work. So those would be my biggest things for it. And yeah, man, Matt, it's always good to talk shop with you. I've loved following you. I watch all your stuff, man, and appreciate you, having me on.
Hey, I appreciate it, and I'll wrap up with this. Nick talked about videos. This is a easy $10 Amazon item. It's a tripod. It allows me to set it up. And he's right. I've done over 120 videos in the past 4 months. The ones that have had the best response are not the ones that are shot on my green screen in my house that look really high and professional. They're the ones where I'm in a parking lot going, hey, I just got an idea. Here's what it is. Because people realize it's real. All the time. So that's what we've got. We'll wrap up this episode, episode 7. Nik Robbins, lots of fire, talking about investment, talking about the future. Nick, who do you know?
I know Matt Plapp, man. Love it.
Here we go. That's our next episode. We got some great ones coming up. We look forward to seeing you next year. See you later.
All right.